I wasn't supposed to be driving that night. My shift had ended late, and the rain was coming down in thick, silver sheets that blurred the road into a mirror. But I couldn't sleep. I'd been pacing my apartment for hours, restless and wired, so I did what I always did when I couldn't quiet my mind. I drove. It was close to midnight when I saw him, a man standing at the side of the old highway, thumb out, soaked to the bone. Normally, I wouldn't have stopped. Not out there, not that late. But something about the way he stood, perfectly still, head slightly bowed, made me slow down. His clothes looked old-fashioned, like something out of a movie. A wool coat, dark trousers, and boots that looked too new for the mud he stood in. When I rolled down the window, he leaned just enough for the light to hit his face. Young, maybe 30. Calm, almost polite. "Heading west?" he asked. I nodded. "Mind if I tag along?" His voice was steady, almost gentle. I don't know why, but I said yes. For the first 20 minutes, we drove in silence. The only sounds were the wipers scraping the glass and the hum of the tires. Every now and then, I'd glance sideways, trying to catch a better look at him. He didn't fidget, didn't check his phone. He just stared out the window like he was watching something only he could see. Finally, I tried to break the silence. "Rough night to be hitchhiking," I said. He smiled slightly. "I've had worse." "Where you headed?" He hesitated. "Home." That word hung in the air longer than it should have. After a few seconds, I asked, "Where's home?" He turned to me, still smiling, and said softly, "You tell me." I laughed nervously. "What's that supposed to mean?" He didn't answer, just looked ahead again as if he hadn't spoken at all. The highway stretched endlessly into the dark, the rain easing into a cold mist. My stomach was tight now, that subtle instinctual dread that creeps up when something doesn't feel right. I glanced at him again. He was sitting perfectly still, but his coat was completely dry. I hadn't noticed it before. I cleared my throat. "So, how long were you out there?" He tilted his head. "You passed me once already. About 15 minutes ago." That made no sense. I'd only taken one road since leaving town. I checked the rearview mirror, and for a split second, I swear I saw another pair of headlights behind us, faint, flickering before they vanished. I looked back at the man. His eyes were on me now, calm and unblinking. "Do you really not remember me?" he asked quietly. The way he said it, like it hurt him, made my skin crawl. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. "Should I?" I asked, trying to keep my voice from shaking. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he turned his face toward the window again, as if the rain outside was more interesting than me. After a long pause, he said, almost wistfully, "You promised you wouldn't forget." That sentence hit like a whisper through my bones. My first instinct was that he was joking, some weird Hitchhiker humor, but his tone wasn't playful. It was hurt, personal. "Look, man," I said, forcing a nervous laugh, "I think you've got the wrong guy. I've never seen you before." He finally turned back to me, and for the first time I saw something in his eyes, not anger, not confusion, just disappointment. "Yeah," he murmured. "You said that last time, too." I didn't know why, but those words chilled me more than anything else he'd said. The air in the car grew colder the longer we drove. I noticed my breath starting to fog up the windshield. The heater was on full blast, but it didn't make any difference. I tried turning on the radio, static. Every channel. No music, no voices. Just white noise, rising and falling like breathing. The man leaned forward slightly, eyes fixed on the dashboard. "This road feels longer every time," he said quietly. I tried to laugh it off. "Every time," he nodded. "You always take it slow near the bridge." Their asterisk was a bridge up ahead, an old, narrow one that cut across the river before the next town. "How do you know that?" I asked, my voice cracking a little. He looked at me and smiled faintly. "Because that's where it happened." The rain had stopped. The road glistened under the moonlight, the bridge looming in the distance like a ribcage made of steel. "What happened?" I asked. He didn't answer. I slowed down anyway. The silence between us stretched so thin I could hear my heartbeat. Then he whispered, "Don't you hear it?" "Hear what?" He leaned closer, his voice suddenly sharp. "The river." I rolled down the window slightly and froze. Their asterisk was a sound, but it wasn't water. It was something heavier. a wet dragging noise echoing from below the bridge. Then through the mist I saw a shape, a single shoe lying in the middle of the road. The man smiled again, that same soft, eerie smile. "You left it there," he said. "You said you'd come back." The words hit me like a slap. I slammed on the brakes, the car screeched, stopping a few feet before the bridge. The seatbelt cut into my shoulder, my pulse roaring in my ears. When I turned to face him, the passenger seat was empty. The door hadn't opened. There was no sound, no sign he'd ever been there, except for the faint smell of wet earth and something metallic, like rust. I sat there for what felt like an hour, staring into the mist that curled around the bridge. The shoe was still in the road, half submerged in a puddle. Against all logic, I got out of the car. The air was freezing. The night was too quiet. When I reached the shoe, I saw that it wasn't just one, there were two, perfectly aligned at the edge of the bridge. And between them, dark stains on the asphalt. My throat tightened. It wasn't rainwater. My mind was spiraling. I wanted to tell myself it was a coincidence, just some random pair of shoes, nothing more. But deep down, something in me was screaming that it wasn't random, that I knew those shoes. I looked over the railing. The river below moved sluggishly, its surface thick and black, reflecting nothing. And then I saw it, a faint shimmer just below the surface, like a face turning upward. I stumbled back, heart racing, when suddenly my phone lit up in my pocket. Unknown number, one message. "You shouldn't have left me," my breath caught. I hadn't told anyone I was driving tonight. I hadn't even told anyone where I was. My hands shook as I typed back. "Who is this?" Almost instantly, a reply. "The wrong passenger." I ran back to the car, slammed the door, and locked it, even though that wouldn't help against whatever was happening. My fingers fumbled on the ignition. The engine sputtered once, twice, then died completely. The lights flickered, then went dark. In the reflection of the windshield, I saw movement, someone walking behind the car. Slow, steady. I couldn't breathe. I turned around, but the rear window was fogged over. I wiped it with my sleeve, nothing there, just fog. Then a handprint appeared on the glass, from asterisk inside. I screamed and stumbled out of the car. The air outside was dead silent. No wind, no rain, just the faint creaking of the bridge and the whisper of a voice close enough to brush against my ear. "It's your turn to walk." I spun around, heart hammering, but no one was there. The fog rolled over the bridge in heavy, slow waves, swallowing everything beyond a few feet. The voice still echoed faintly behind me, ahead of me, inside me. "It's your turn to walk." My body moved before my brain caught up. I started walking toward the center of the bridge, every step heavy and wrong. The further I went, the colder it got, until I could see my breath curling into the mist. The sound beneath me, that dragging sound, grew louder, like something pacing under the planks. Halfway across, I saw a figure standing in the middle of the bridge. It was him, the hitchhiker. He was barefoot, clothes dripping, skin pale as stone. "You came back," he said softly. My voice cracked. "What do you want from me?" He tilted his head. "You promised." I tried to take a step back, but the fog behind me had thickened into a wall. Every direction looked the same now, endless gray. He started walking toward me, slow and deliberate, his wet footsteps echoing. "You said you'd help me," he said, voice trembling like he was on the verge of tears. "You said you wouldn't leave me there." My throat tightened. "I don't know what you're talking about." But as I said it, flashes started hitting me, quick, violent fragments that made my head spin. Rain, screaming, a car door slamming, a hand slipping from mine into the dark. I gasped and stumbled forward, clutching the railing. No, no, that wasn't real. He stopped just a few feet away. His expression softened, almost sad. It was to me. The river below started to churn, swirling violently even though the air was still. The sound rose, deep and guttural, like something waking up. The hitchhiker, no, the man asterisk, looked down, then back at me. "You never came back for me," he whispered. "You just drove away." My vision blurred. The flashes were coming faster now, headlights, panic, the curve of the bridge, someone screaming my name. And then I saw it, a crash, a sinking car. my hands gripping the steering wheel, too frozen to move as water filled my lungs. Except I was on the bridge. Wasn't supposed to be alive. He stepped closer, voice barely above the wind. You survived, Daniel. I didn't. The name hit me like ice water. I hadn't told him my name. I stumbled backward, shaking my head. No, that's not possible, I said. But my own voice didn't sound real anymore. It echoed, warped by the fog. He took another step closer, water dripping from his sleeves. You fell asleep at the wheel. We were coming back from the coast. You said you'd drive. My pulse thudded in my ears. Images kept flashing, laughter in the car, a half-empty bottle on the dashboard, headlights swerving, glass shattering. A splash, a scream, then silence. My stomach turned. I could almost taste the salt water. I tried to save you, I whispered. His eyes softened, but his face was gray and lifeless. I know you did, but you left when I called. Lightning cracked across the sky, and for a split second I saw the reflection of both of us in the wet pavement. He looked solid, I didn't. Why are you here? I asked, my voice breaking. He smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it. Because you still are. I don't understand. You never left the bridge, Daniel. You've been driving it over and over again for years. My heart sank. I wanted to tell him he was wrong, that I had a life, an apartment, a job. But as I tried to remember the details, my coworkers' faces, my front door, even my own reflection, everything blurred like ink bleeding into water. The more I tried to focus, the less real it felt. He stretched out his hand. You can stop now, just walk with me. The fog behind him began to glow, pale and silver, like dawn breaking under the water. Part of me wanted to run, but another part, the tired, hollow part, wanted to follow. I took one step toward him, then another. My shoes made no sound on the pavement. The air was thick, heavy, humming with static. He smiled again, gently this time. It's okay. You've carried this long enough. Then faintly behind us, a sound broke through the fog, an engine, tires on wet asphalt. Headlights cut through the mist, blinding for a second. Someone was driving toward the bridge. The man frowned. No, not again. I turned. Through the glare, I saw a car slowing down, same make, same color as mine, a lone driver inside. He looked terrified, staring straight ahead at two figures standing in the middle of the bridge. Us. The driver's headlights washed over us, and for a second, everything froze like the world held its breath. I saw his face clearly now, through the glass. Pale, wide-eyed, the same fear I'd felt that night, because it was me. The man beside me, the hitchhiker, my reflection, my guilt, turned toward me with that same broken smile. It's the loop, he whispered. You made it this way. I don't understand, I shouted. Yes, you do. The car stopped just short of us. The driver, blinked, confused, gripping the wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. I watched him mouth the words I'd spoken hours ago. Heading west. I felt sick. My chest burned as the realization hit. I wasn't alive. I was just the echo of a moment that never ended. The hitchhiker's voice softened. You've been picking me up for years. Every time you try to change it, you end up back here. Same rain, same bridge. He looked out into the fog. But maybe this time you can finish it. My other self, the living one maybe, reached for the door handle. I shouted, don't open it, don't stop. But he couldn't hear me. He stepped out of the car, his movements a perfect mirror of mine from the beginning. The hitchhiker turned to me. You know what comes next? The river roared below, louder than before. I whispered, he doesn't deserve this. The man smiled sadly. Neither did I. Something inside me snapped, that desperate human urge to make it right, even if it was already too late. I grabbed his arm. Then let him go. Let me take your place. He studied me for a long moment, eyes glimmering with something almost kind. You finally remember. The fog swirled violently around us, pulling at my clothes, my skin. The world began to twist, the bridge bending like glass in water. The headlights flickered. My other self looked around in confusion, shouting something I couldn't hear. The hitchhiker, my brother, stepped backward toward the railing, smiling through tears. This time, he whispered, you came back. And then he let go. I screamed and lunged forward, but the moment my hand brushed his coat, everything went silent: the wind, the rain, even my heartbeat. The world folded in on itself, colors draining to gray. The bridge was gone. The car was gone. Only the river remained, endless and still, stretching into nothing. A voice broke the silence, gentle and far away. "You can wake up now, Daniel." I turned, and for the first time in years I saw him clearly, dry, calm, no longer ghostly. My brother. He smiled the way he used to when we were kids, before everything went wrong. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice shaking. "I didn't mean to leave you," he nodded. "I know you just couldn't forgive yourself, but that's over now." He held out his hand. "Come on. Time to go home." For a moment I hesitated, afraid that taking it would make me disappear. But then I realized maybe that was the point. When I opened my eyes, I was sitting in my car on the side of the road. The storm was gone. The sky was pale gray, the kind that comes just before sunrise. The passenger seat was empty, no footprints, no coat, no trace of him. Just a single wet shoe lying on the floor. I picked it up, heart pounding, and whispered goodbye. Then, with trembling hands, I started the engine. As the tires rolled over the bridge, sunlight broke through the fog. For the first time in years, I didn't look in the rearview mirror. When I finally reached the end of the road, my phone buzzed once. A message flashed across the screen: no sender, no number. "Thank you for coming back." And then the screen went dark.